Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast with Core 4 Complete Fitness. Your episode is starting in 3, 2, 1.
If it was $50, wouldn't that be sweet?
Someday. Hello, peoples.
Plugging away.
Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Like always, before we get talking into today's podcast, if you could do us one favor, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your phone, there's a little subscribe button on pretty much all the major apps. If you press it, that'll keep us bumping up the charts. And share it with somebody. If there's somebody that you know that's stuck or they're trying to get in shape or they've had a tough time, share it with them. Tell them to subscribe so then that way we can help as many people as humanly possible. Now, today, I want to talk to you guys about probably, I would guess, the number one thing that will get you in shape or out of shape as quickly as humanly possible. You can apply this to diet and nutrition. You can apply this to workouts. You can apply this to water, steps, whatever it is. And the one thing that moves the needle for most people, 99.9% of the time, is the magic word of consistency. Yet, this is the one thing that people have the hardest time doing over and over and over again. And for a lot of us getting in shape and getting healthy, we tend to overanalyze, over-explain, overthink. Do I have to, cut out sugar for the rest of my life? Do I have to spend an hour in the gym every day? And I want you to think for a moment, if we told you to do the hardest thing possible, spend an hour and a half in the gym every single day, have no sugar, not enjoy your life, yes, you might be able to do it for a week or 2 weeks, but consistency-wise, you would probably not be able to do that long-term past a 2 or 3 week period. But what you could do if we reversed it and said, okay, if you couldn't go to the gym for an hour and a half every day for the rest of your life, but could you do 30 minutes Monday through Friday and eat a relatively clean diet, get 7,500 to 10,000 steps in, drink some water, you could probably go, yeah, that kind of would just seamlessly fit into the background of my life. And the biggest thing, guys, if you're somebody that yo-yos and you go 100 miles an hour into something and you burn yourself out and then you don't go to the gym for 2 weeks or 2 months, or your diet is on point for a couple weeks and then you binge and you're off track for 2 weeks or 2 months, focus on something that you can do consistently, even if it's small, because that small little piece of consistency over time will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're not on the tracks, off the tracks, and all of a sudden it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And you're like, wow, this is the first thing that I have kept up for a long period of time. And where you start, guys, can grow. If it's, tough for you to get to the gym 5 days a week, start consistently with 3. And then maybe after a couple weeks, add in 4. And after a couple weeks, add in 5. And if it has to stay at 4, that's okay still. But focus on what you can do day in and day out for weeks on ends, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. Perfect, don't worry about, but focus on what can I do consistently will move the needle 10 times faster than going 100 miles an hour to 0. You make a ton of progress and then you shoot all the way back down and you're kind of just spinning your wheels in one place.
I always like to think about, why is consistency hard? What makes it, why is it so troubling to do? Because if you look at there's proof that consistency works, right? And if you look at it from the reverse angle, what happens when you consistently don't go to the gym or consistently don't fuel yourself correctly and consistently, make bad choices and do things that are bad for your health, whatever? You get to a point where it catches up to you, right? That's proof of consistency on the reverse flip side of the coin right there. So the problem is, why it's so hard is one of the first things you realize is it's not an immediate result all the time, immediate gratification. You don't go, oh, I went to the gym today. Wow, look at how strong I am, or whatever. Look how great I look or feel, But over time, this compiles. And then, again, flip coin, devil's advocate, if you will. If you don't go to the gym one day, you don't go, oh, well, I just gained 45 pounds and my knees hurt now and my back hurts now. No, it takes some time, compounds, but the challenge of it being a challenge, right? Being an obligation is what, if we can switch and flip off and change, is what makes consistency 10 times easier to do, right? It's easy for some of us to consistently not go to the gym. It's easier than consistently going to the gym, right? But that's all just because of the way we view things and are towards things, right? It's easier to just sit on the couch versus get up and go for a walk. It's easier to whatever, you know, go do the dishes than it is to go do 100 burpees. Right. Some things physically and some things mentally are easier, but a lot of it is the mental aspect of what makes it so easy and so hard. If you learn to love it, in any aspect, it becomes hard. Like we always talk about hockey, that's a great physical thing. It's a great workout, full body sweat. You're moving the whole time, great cardio, legs burning. It's a great hour exercise, but it's so easy to stay consistent because we love doing it. It's harder to miss it than it is to go to it, right? So if you're finding that going to the gym or going to outside for a walk, anything, and this is a lot of times why working out alone is such a hard thing to do, because it's hard to go into the basement and start lifting the kettlebells or whatever you have. Play around with your mindset about the consistency and why it's such an obligation to you. What is missing? Why is it hard? And more times than not, it's hard just because we're starting. But just like anything is, we all couldn't walk. It took us a while to learn how to walk, right? It was hard
Yeah.
to walk when we were 1 year old or whatever. And then speak. We couldn't speak. So it's I know that's kind of a very, very abstract way to look at it, but it's also true. If you do something, practice, you get better at it. You get more efficient at it. You like it more, right? And then once that like and enjoyment comes in, it's 10 times easier to stay consistent. And it's actually harder to just stay inside and not go out and not go exercise every day. It's harder to be consistent that way than consistently active. That's why active lifestyle is so important.
Yeah. And like you said, with the active lifestyle thing, is try to think of it almost as like, if you ever seen those, like, what are they called? The judicial scales, how one is like always raised up and one is lower. And there's
The
people
Libra
that
scale.
are like, okay, I've been going, let's say, to the gym 2 days a week for, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in a row, and things are moving slowly. But if you can kind of think of the reverse mindset, if you can go, okay, but you're consistently not going to the gym 5 days a week. So if you can go,
Right.
what is going to kind of get those scales back in line? Even if it's 3 or 4 days, you're like, okay, now the consistency is back in my favor. I'm
Right.
exercising more days than I'm taking off, and things are starting to kind of become harmonious again. And same thing with
Right.
nutrition. If you go, okay, I'm consistent Monday through Thursday afternoonish, but then Thursday night it's happy hour, Friday's a wash, we go out, Saturday, Sunday, I eat whatever I want. You're like, okay, I'm only consistent 50% of the time. And
Right.
the other half of the week, I'm completely falling off track. So if you can kind of go, how do I get consistency in my favor? How do I get balance in my favor so that I'm
Yeah.
doing healthy things more often than not healthy things, eating wise? I'm exercising more than I'm being lethargic. And if you can do that, you go, okay, I found a nice balance. Now I can operate with this day
That's
in and day out, basically, instead of always having to go, oh, I'm trying to undo the weekend, or I'm just going to eat clean because I know I ate like shit for the past 2, 3, 4 weeks. Again, you're constantly ping ponging back and forth, but when you can go, I am always progressing instead of either having I'm doing things right or I'm doing things wrong. When you can operate at like that 80 to 90% potential consistently, that's what's going to yield the biggest progress over time, and not act like it's this complete overhaul boulder on your shoulders where you're like, I'm burning out, I'm completely crashing, I want to go have cookies, brownies, all this. And it helps you stay on track long term.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Like consistency is always happening. You are always consistent with something. You're consistently on or you're consistently off, right? You're consistently anything. You can relate it to anything. So it's kind of fun to look at consistency almost like its own thing that exists in the universe and we're always finding what we're consistent at. You know what I mean? And you kind of get to pick. If you are 5 days a week in the gym, okay, you're consistently a gym goer. If you're 3 days a week at the gym, you're consistently a not gym goer because there's 7 days in a week, right? So you kind of get to pick. Or if you're consistently eat well, well, if you do that 3 days a week, you're more consistently not eating well. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's a constant variable. That's a really cool way to look at it. And consistency is always existing around us, and we need to fit in our life what we want to be consistent at, what we choose and what we value and what we want, right? And health, obviously, as we know, which is the whole point of this podcast, gets overlooked often. And we wake up 25 years down the road and all of a sudden we feel old and we hate how we look and we don't have confidence and blah, 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 blah. And the list goes on. And so finding a way to limit that damage, if you want to look at it that way, it comes from that consistency. And I think it's hard, which I briefly mentioned this. I wanted to get into it, but then like I always do, I just went on a different tangent. The immediate gratification is hard to deal with just as a person, especially when you do something taxing, right? Like you do whatever. You have to go get your oil changed and you're like, I really don't want to do it. They always try to upsell me, whatever. It's a pain. It's easy. It's mundane. It's not that big of a deal. I'm working it up in my head like it's a bigger deal, but I don't want to do it, right? But then once you do it, you go, oh, I'm happy it's done. Oil's changed. Don't got to worry about it. And you get that gratification. You go, okay, check, done. That doesn't happen with fitness. You know, you don't go work out and then look better. You don't go eat one clean meal and then look better. But what does happen quickly, and this is what we overlook because of the busy hustle bustle of our life or just kind of not being in tune, is you feel better. That is a 1-to-1 ratio. You walk in, it's hard to walk out of a gym session feeling worse, right? At the very, very, very rare occasion you break even. You walk out going, okay. But I really don't even think that exists. You always move the needle a little bit, right? And so that has potential to spike and change as you go, but it's a net positive no matter what. And I think that is a way to, being mindful of how we're feeling is like a hack to stay consistent because it gives us the immediate gratification. It gives us that, okay, that oil change was kind of lingering over me. I got it done. Now I don't have to worry about an oil change. Or taxes. That's a better example. You're like, I don't want to spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours doing these taxes. I got to get all the numbers in a row. I got to blah, blah. I don't want to do it. But then you get it done. And you go,
God,
okay.
I'm glad that's off my plate.
God, it's over. Right. And you feel that gratification and accomplishment. You feel good. Like it's that trivial and silly of a thing that we do. And yeah, sometimes we lose that in, having a chicken breast instead of pancakes or whatever, in a weird example. But, but it compounds and compounds. And yeah, I think that instant gratification can happen. We just got to look for it a little more in the gym.
Yeah. And like you said, with the oil change thing, if you think of like how you said, people generally, their aha moment a lot of the times when it's time to get in shape is it's too late. And you can like piggyback this onto like your oil change. How many times have you said, I need an oil change, I'm going to get it tomorrow? And the next day comes and you're like, I can put it off for one more day. I can put it off for one more day. And then a week goes by. I'll do it on Monday next week. And then a week goes by. Crap, I really need to oil change. I'm really supposed to do this. After a while, your car starts running like crap. Other things happen because you didn't get an oil change. The engine starts to fail and all these lights start turning on. And it's all because you kept kicking that can down the road and didn't get your oil change. If you can think of it almost like in the same terms of fitness, a lot of people do the same thing. Is I'll pick it up on Monday or I'll start tomorrow or I'll go twice as hard tomorrow to make up for the day. And you keep kind of pushing it back until eventually 6 months, a year, years, or decades go down the line. And you're like, damn it, if I just would have gotten that oil change on that one day when I had a little bit of time, I could have been operating completely fine. Now I got to pay for a new engine. Now I got to buy a new car and this thing is starting to fall apart. We tend to kick the can down the road. And kind of like how you started off, I think the reason why consistency is so hard for people, number one, like you said, there's not the immediate gratification factor. And then two, we kind of have this perfect formula whipped up in our brain of how every day, every week is going to look, every month is going to look. And it usually takes one thing, whether it be, talking about cars, let's say it's a flat tire or your kid is sick or they don't have school that day, for you to go, oh, consistency is gone. Instead of just kind of pivoting and saying, I'm going to maybe go to the gym a little bit earlier than normal or a little bit later, or I'll work out at home. There's several different ways that you can navigate around stuff. But a lot of the time, when there's like a little speed bump, people tend to go, my routine is out of whack. There's no way I can get in shape. There's no way I can go to the gym anymore. There's no way I can eat healthy because one minute thing happened. And all you have to do is kind of take that thing and go, okay, how am I going to navigate around this? This will be something that I'll apply for the next 2 or 3 weeks or a month. Things will return back to normal and I'll just do what I used to do. But for a lot of it, the minute there's any kind of friction, we tend to go, oh my gosh, I need to abandon ship. My plan is off track. Instead of just going, navigate the waters, I have to kind of take this alternate route around stuff. I can still make it work. Instead of letting it kind of be the be all end all to completely like chop your consistency right in half.
Right. Yeah, we're very fragile in that sense. And it's all just, again, it's that relationship with doing challenging things and hard things and making things obligations in our minds. Once they're an obligation, it's like way harder to do. And that's another reason why consistency can be hard is monotony, boredom. If you do the same thing, if you go in the basement, do your P90X video, and you've been doing this every day for the 5 years alone, eventually enough is enough. And you're like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore.
Monday's going to be the same workout, then Tuesday's going to be the same workout.
Yeah, Monday's back and buys, and Tuesday, yeah. And eventually, so, we found what we do is every week, every day, every workout's different, right? And we change it, and some days are more cardio, some days strength, but that group fitness world also isn't for everybody, and you don't have to do it to be successful, but the finding the different pockets within fitness, it's almost like you never abandon ship, abandon your home base, but you kind of branch out, and one time you train for a marathon, or one time it's hockey season, and one time you want to do a physique competition, and one day you do the Murph challenge. So you're practicing, like right now the weather's breaking, we have the Murph every Memorial Day, so we're starting to gear towards Murph preparation, doing more pull-ups that we may not have been doing throughout the winter, and more push-ups. And so when Murph comes, and it's ways to still be doing what you always do, yet with kind of a geared, guided focus, which keeps us more on the ball, keeps us less checked out, keeps us more in tune to what we're doing, and keeps it fun, keeps it exciting. And can you hear Rowan?
What's he saying? Just talking to himself?
Nothing, just rambling. Just
He's got a blue hat. He's got a tail.
Not even words. He's just sick with snot in his nose, just rumbling and bumbling in there. Sorry if it's too annoying. I forgot my microphone. So sorry, listeners. Hopefully that's not too bad. I can't tell how it sounds, but anyway, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, the boredom is another big issue with consistency. Once we get bored, then again that obligation feeling comes back if we kicked it, and that's when we can stray, we can leave, we can go like, I'm just gonna take a break for a little while, or I'm gonna take, and then we know that's not a good. We're getting in the habit of being consistent the other way once we start that.
Consistently inconsistent.
Right. Which is bad. It's that yo-yo up and down life. It doesn't bode anybody well. If you can almost look in any instance, it doesn't, if you wanted to go through high school, get good grades so you could get into college to get good grades, you can get into grad school to get good grades so you could get the job you wanted to get good grades. You couldn't just take a year off. You had to keep
building,
right? And then it came time for the boards or testing or residency, whatever your life is. You had to show up all throughout those times. And when you really zoom in close, there were days when you didn't. There were days when you skipped class. There were days when you were sick. There were days, but when you zoomed out, every day you were working towards that career, that goal. And it's like it really is the same exact thing with your health, except way more important because it's your health, it's your body. It doesn't matter what degree you have if you're dead. So, I mean, when you zoom in, there are weekends where you're sick. There's weeks where you're on vacation, where you're not prioritizing things. Yes, but as you zoom out, you should be constantly like keeping yourself afloat in fitness and working and trying to get better. If I'm working out just to work out, just to break even, it's so much easier to quit. But if I'm working out to get better, to be like, oh, I really want to be able to do this. I want this Murph. Just talking about the Murph. I want that to be faster this year. I want to be. It just gives a whole different perspective on it. And next thing you know, you're like, yeah, I've been going to the gym 6 days a week for the last month, all because I'm preparing for this thing, for this marathon or this hockey season or whatever you have. And it's I don't know. I want people to try it more. Try to get that through. Like, it's fun. It makes it a lot more fun.
Reach for something, have a goal in mind, and it does
Yeah.
help 10 times more with consistency
does.
rather than just checking the box. But when you're
Yeah.
like, I'm doing this so I can reach X, and if you reach X, if you need a little bit of a break, that's okay, but then do it again. Okay. In 3 or 6 months, my next goal is going to be this. I want to run a marathon, or I want to lose these 5 to 10 pounds finally. And it just keeps you always chasing something. So those days that you're like, okay, I'll take a day off today, or I'll only get in 3 times instead of 4 times. You're like, nope, I'm sticking to it. My consistency is going to kind of take me to the promised land.
Yeah, and it's also like to talk about that making your way through your career choices in school and all of that. Once you get your job, you can't just stop. Once you get fit to your standards, you can't just stop. Then you're there. Now you got to go to work every day. And then maybe you want to get a promotion, or maybe you want to do this, or maybe you decide there's a different path. It's fun to look at all different paths of life and see how they're all the same, and they all rely on that big word, consistency. It's huge.
True that. Now, should you guys need one of the biggest things that people probably are inconsistent with diet-wise is protein. This is the biggest thing that we see a problem with inside the gym is people are overeating too many carbs, processed stuff, and they're not getting in nearly enough protein. So, should you need help consistently getting in protein, if you go to core4supplements.com, we have awesome protein, vanilla, chocolate, cinnamon bun. All are delicious. You can whip it up in a shake for breakfast. It takes you 30 seconds. It's a quick 22 grams of protein.
About to do that right now.
Oh, yeah. And you didn't have to get out pots, pans, all that stuff. It's very, very quick and easy and tastes delicious. We have that. We have a daily green supplement. If you know consistently I'm not getting enough greens in, that'll help you reach your goal for the day so you're not filling up on crap. Helps aid in digestion, breaking down stuff. It has probiotics in it, which helps the breakdown of food. And then I think we told you last podcast, our new fat-burning supplement called Torch is coming into the gyms, and hopefully a day or two. It just shipped last night, so we will have that in stock for you guys. But if you want to try it, the reviews are awesome. And then we have one more big surprise for you guys that's launching in April that is going to be a game changer. If you don't have healthy foods in your house or healthy snacks, we will have you covered very, very shortly. So if you go to core4supplements.com and you use the code word podcast at the checkout, you'll save 10% off your order. Also, if you spend over $100, we ship it to your house for free. So if you want to get a bunch of stuff and stock up for a while, we'll ship it to your door. Don't have to pay anything, and you can still use the code word podcast at the checkout. But that is all, people. Hi, Rowan.
Say hi, Uncle Corey.
Are you sick?
Covered in snot.
Yeah.
You gotta go potty.
Delicious snack on the go.
That's right.
I like your jammies. Camera shot.
Football jamming. Yep.
All right,
Oh,
peoples.
don't make a mess. All right,
Have
everybody.
a great day. Have a great week. And we shall see you all next week. Peace.
Bye-bye.